Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sticks and Bricks, a podcast that takes you behind the scenes of luxury custom home building. With me, Sherwin, Loudermilk, your host and president of Loudermilk Custom Homes, where we believe in the mantra, build it like it's yours. Have you ever wondered what goes into creating a custom dream home? Well, you're in the right place. In each episode, we'll dive deep into building science processes and construction business practices through interviewing leaders in the industry. We'll discuss the world of home design and construction by sharing stories, insights, and the secrets that make Loudermilk Homes the leader in Georgia and Western North Carolina. And here's something special for you. Stay tuned at the end of each episode for our Builder Pro Tips segment. We'll provide actual items and insights for you to use on your own projects, so you can turn inspiration into action. At Sticks and Bricks, we want to make your journey into luxury custom home building both informative and practical. So buckle up, get ready for a fascinating ride through the world of custom luxury home design and construction. Let's build something extraordinary together. Welcome to Sticks and Bricks.
Welcome everybody to another edition of Sticks and Bricks. Today I'll be talking with Alex Arbeiter. He's our Director of Media and Marketing at Loudermilk Homes. He's going to share some insight on what he really does to get our photos and our video and our other digital assets really up to speed to be able to post things on social media and get good film out of good video. How does he edit it? And we're going to really deep dive and kind of geek out on things that happen behind the scenes. So like all the technical aspects of the film, including the equipment he uses and the lighting and the aspect ratios and the depth of the field, and what is he doing with AI and 3D printers and things of that nature to really take our marketing to the next level. So Alex, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sherwin, thanks for hosting me.
Yeah. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about your background in photography and filmmaking.
So funny enough, I actually went to school. I did both my undergrad and grad school degree at Florida State University. And I actually started with music. I got a music education degree as my undergrad. And just kind of towards the end of that career path in undergrad, I was like, you know what? I picked up a camera for the first time and I just like fell in love with the process of taking photos, kind of like shooting small commercials with friends. And so I decided to pursue a master's in film production. And that brought me to Atlanta shortly after, and then kind of fell into the palms of Loudermilk Homes. And I'm very blessed to be here, but I have a blast.
Well, we love having you. You've had such an impact on our business, specifically on our marketing. I know, they always said a picture's worth 1,000 words. I think in today's world, 1,000 pictures worth one video. And the way that you're able to put our videos together is fantastic. I know when we first talked, I did not feel like I needed to have a full-time videographer / filmmaker. And I know we were chatting about a specific project when I brought you in, and I was like, can you just do this one project? And we were thinking it might be 3 months or 6 months or so. But then after we worked for a while together, I said, hey, this is great. You want to work for us full time? And then here you go, a year and a little bit later, you've been with us and just creating incredible videos and photography. So tell us a little.
Funny thing. I wanted to just say the funny thing about that whole process of me getting hired kind of full time here is when I started part time, I know we had like, hey, there's this one project we want you to focus on. And at the time, I was so ready to work and have a job that I just gave everything I had to this company. And I never told you this, but I was always from the very beginning, I was like, I want to try and like make this a full-time position. I'm going to like show them that I can do something here.
That's awesome. What you did and your deliverables are proving. Well, good. That's a good story. So let's talk about like how you actually did that. So when you approach a photo or video shoot, tell us what's going through your head. How do you approach it? Let's talk about a house, right? So we finish, obviously we do luxury custom homes, and you're trying to work with a project manager to get that home ready for photography and video. Tell us what goes through your head and how you prepare.
So many things, honestly. I know a lot of people probably come in with the assumption that the photographer just comes in, clicks the button a couple times, and then leaves and edits the photos, and it's like a very quick process. But I'm going to be honest and transparent. It's a lot more to that. When I know that there's a shoot coming up, the very first thing I think about is there can be no one in the house. If there is someone in the house, it has to be like 1-2 people because I have to be able to work around them. And, especially with our houses, we have these big windows. And like we're seeing outside, we're showing the nature, we're showing, the driveway. So as soon as you have one person in the house, then you have to start thinking about their vehicle sitting in the driveway and how that affects the photo. And so that's why over time, the more time I've gotten to know my coworkers and, just the builders here, I really press upon them that like the house needs to be empty. Because the number of times I've tried to take photos and there's a truck on the outside and someone's like, can you edit that truck out? And I'm like, well, we just created more work. So
Oh, and it's
really,
so hard. I mean, we've been doing this forever, and obviously for 15 years, we've outsourced photography, to random, videographers or photographers, and getting on their schedule and having them come at the exact time that the house is ready, and then everybody's has clean, everyone's gone. Well, as soon as that happens, the client wants to take possession. They don't care about these photos, but we need those photos for marketing purposes. So having somebody in-house that knows our project managers makes a big difference with you being able to just go, hey, listen, is it ready? I'm on staff, so I can come tomorrow or the next day, but I need it to be ready. I don't want you to, have it half-baked or there'd be trash all over the place or things of that nature.
Yeah, and I'm really blessed to be able to actually get to know the builders and the PMs and everything, to be able to work with that flexible schedule, because I'm sure you can attest to this, but when you hire a third-party photographer to come in and film, like you usually put a deposit down. If something goes wrong, like if the project gets pushed back a week, like you might end up just losing out on the deposit and not getting the photos because of their schedule. And if the house isn't ready for them to come in, that's a loss. So that's something I'm really thankful for, to be able to have that flexibility within the company. And we shift things around by week. We push a project back a month just randomly, and it's just like, it's nice to be able to go in and take those photos as soon as it's ready. But that's a very small aspect in terms of like what I'm thinking about going into a shoot. Once I'm actually in there, I mean, again, you can attest to this. I think my work has grown exponentially since I started here. I didn't have a lot of real estate photography experience. I've done a lot of video work in houses, but taking photos, it was a lot of learning on the job and like watching YouTube videos. I'm a big advocate for YouTube University. If anyone out there is watching this, like trying to figure out how to do something, find someone on YouTube that you're passionate about, listen to their videos. That's how I got into this. And so it's a lot of learning on the job, which I'm very thankful to have that opportunity. And then, you step into a house. The first thing I do is I go through, I turn all of the lights on. I kind of get a feel for the house. I walk through the entire thing. And the first thing I do now is I start with all the common areas, like the kitchen, the living room, any like dining space or sunroom, and then kind of work my way into the owner's suite, and then work my way to other like offices, entertainment, and bedrooms around the house. Because I feel like when I start my shoot, I have the most energy, and I want that energy to go into getting the best shots for the common spaces, which are all the photos we're going to use all over social media. As great as it is to have 3-4 bedroom houses and photos of those bedrooms, those aren't the things that we're really showcasing. And so I make sure that I apply my energy to the right spot of the shoot, which is right at the start.
So is that how you bring that personality and that character into the videos and photography?
Yeah, absolutely. Because especially, I don't think you know this, but usually when it's like a spec home we have, I go one day, take photos, and then I sleep on it, and I come back the next day and I do videos separate. So I can start with that same fresh energy for both shoots, because I do view photo and video very differently. Especially, talking about, you said at the start of the episode, how I utilize depth of field, how I utilize my aspect ratio. It's different for photo and video completely. So I have to go in with a brand new mindset. And sometimes trying to go in and do the video after taking photos, I'm like exhausted because, I've been shooting the house for 3-4 hours at that point already. I want to go get a coffee. I want to go home, whatever it is. And so I just want to make sure I can come up with the best product and still have fresh ideas. And so like a very specific example, we just finished building a home up in North Carolina. And, I went one evening, took photos. I was exhausted, finished my day. The next morning I came back out and I had all these cool ideas for the videos and how I want to shoot this house. And you haven't had the opportunity to see it just yet. I'm very excited, but it's a really big deal coming in with a fresh mind, whatever you're doing, photos, videos, and utilizing that creative space to kind of create something out of nothing. I mean, I don't want to say a house is nothing, but a house is very stationary. You have to kind of create the movement and create the excitement surrounding the house. And so that's what I have to come in with the energy for sure.
Especially a lot of our houses they're not furnished. So you've got to pull colors from the outside, and you got to make that movement happen. Furniture and window treatments and all of these things, linens. they're what adds the color to the house, right? It makes it beautiful, and you're having to make it look beautiful without all of those items. So that character, how you do that, which I still don't understand how you do it, but how you're able to pull colors from the windows and the angles and getting things like, water faucets when they're on and things of that nature is just absolutely amazing.
Well, you hit the nail on the head too. I kind of mentioned for any photographers or videographers that end up watching this video, they'll kind of know more of what I'm talking about when it comes to this. But because our houses aren't furnished most of the time, I'm not going to say all the time, but yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I have to be very creative with like showcasing the home for what it is and finding fun things to shoot. And I'm very lucky with our company, Loudermilk Homes, is we build in really cool areas. If it's Atlanta, we're usually building around some type of town. So I get like a really high drone shot so I can show off the town next to the house. But in North Carolina, especially, like being able to look out a window and see this huge mountain range or a creek or a waterfall, like those are like diamonds in the roughs for a lot of people that don't get that opportunity. And that's like almost a day-to-day basis for me. Like I get to live in that. I mean, it's really incredible. That's the opportunity that's been provided to me with the homes that we build.
Yeah, the picture you have in the background, that's in one of our subdivisions, right? Which subdivision is that?
It is. It is Cedar Hill up in Western North Carolina, Cashiers, North Carolina. For those of you that aren't familiar, it's about an hour and a half out of Asheville.
Something like that. Yeah, right around an hour and a half, 2.5 hours away from.
And it's just beautiful. This is actually my first fall I got to experience up in North Carolina, and I got the drone up there, and I was like, wow, it was breathtaking, honestly.
All right, so let's say you do your first day, you do your second day of video, and now you have all your content. Now it's the time to edit and do your post-production. What goes through your mind and that creativity to say, how am I going to create this?
It's a lot of trial and error, if I'm being honest with you. I go into, I mean, let's talk about photos and videos separate. So photos, it's a very straightforward process. Honestly, it's just very time consuming. Because what's happening is when you go into an actual photo shoot for a house, most people, and everyone kind of does things different. So I don't want to speak to everyone and how they go about their process, but I personally don't bring lights with me to a shoot. I'm really going in and I take these, what we call multiple exposure shots. And so what you're doing is you're setting the camera up on a tripod. You're taking 3 or 5 photos without the camera moving. And you're changing the settings for every single photo. So you get a really dark, you get like a kind of add exposure shot, and then you get a really bright photo to kind of bring out the shadows as well. And what you're doing with editing is you're combining all of those together, but you're drawing what parts of the photo you want to keep from each one. And so you combine the 3 shots together into one so that you have all the data compressed into one picture. And then I'm going through all the windows and lowering the brightness so that you can see what's outside, and then going to all the dark areas of the photos and increasing the brightness so you can see all of the dark stuff. And it's just meant to look at just like your background, like the sky and the house are all like the same exposure is what we call it. And so it's not like a dark house with a bright background. We try and level everything out.
Is that
so
cheating?
Each photo's, is it?
Technically cheating?
I wouldn't say.
That's great.
I will
to be honest with you, this is news to me. I didn't know that you did a lot of that. So I was always wondering, how are you getting the outside to be so bright, but also be able to see the inside? Because when I take a picture from my phone, if I'm not zooming in on one or the other, it screws up the other side. So that's interesting that you're kind of feeling the pictures together. That's awesome.
I think a lot of people don't realize that too, but that's why, and I speak as a professional photographer, that when I take portrait photos of people, I see the lighting. I love how like the shadows work. And then I come to like real estate photography, and it's night and day difference, because now we're trying our best to create a level exposure across the entire image. Like you want everything to look level. So every time I look at real estate photography, I'm like, this looks kind of fake. And that's because it is. Like I'm kind of, selling the magic here. I'm kind of ruining the magic a little bit with what I'm explaining, but that's exactly what real estate photography is.
Wow.
And then,
all right. So let's talk about, now that you have all of this, how are we getting this out for marketing purposes? Is usually through our social media. I mean, we're doing some things on our website, but most of the time we're on some kind of social platform. And since you've taken over with these videos, really in the last 4 or 5 months, our social media has just climbed, and that's kudos to you. In fact, anybody watching, join us on our Facebook, LinkedIn,
Yes, please.
Instagram, all of the different, YouTube. Join our videos because Alex does an amazing job. And whenever something like this pops up, you can see it. Okay.
And then you turn to like video editing, and like I mentioned, it's a lot of trial and error. I typically go in with a concept of an idea. I have a rough foundation of what I want to do, but it's quite a process because obviously with my music background, the music plays such an important role in how I edit videos. And so the very first thing I do other than create the video editing project is I'm sitting there for probably a half hour to an hour just finding the right song to edit to. And then, once I finally found that, I kind of cut it to, if it's a 2.5 minute song, I need to cut it to be like 60 seconds so that it works for social media. So once I've done that, I kind of let the music carry the flow and direction of the entire editing process. And it's just, I mean, you've seen a bit of that lately. Like I've kind of pushed for that a little more with my video editing.
You're putting on some really hip new music and fun vibes. And some of these guys I don't know, some of them I do know, but it's amazing how the music in the background changes the entire effect or your feel of what you're watching.
Absolutely. I think music plays such an important role and people don't realize it. So if there's any photographers or videographers looking at like ways to improve your editing skills, find the right music. Like speak, especially I have the luxury of working with Sherwin. I get to go back and forth. He kind of has started trusting me with my ideas that I feel like I can just start doing them. But if you don't know the client, like you need to ask them what type of music they want. And that's my process too. If I ever work with someone I don't know, it's like I need to sit down with you and find the music you want me to use because I edit to that. And so, yeah, it's fun that now that we've kind of gotten to this point of trust that we've built with each other, that I can push ideas on you a little bit is how I would describe it. And once I've kind of then done the couple days worth of work of editing the video, I can show it to you and you'd be like, oh yeah, like this works.
Yeah, so, I love it. I love seeing the new videos you come out with because again, before we were doing things, we were walking before we run. Now I spend a lot less time with you, but all of a sudden, boom, will pop up a video that you clearly put an incredible amount of time on. And I go, wow, that is just amazing. Great job on that, So it's fantastic to see that. And
it's fun. It's fun. When you have the right music and you're having a good time, you have fun editing, and then you get a little more in depth with what you're trying to do. And so I have a blast. And then the great thing too about the video editing side of it is, I learn while I'm editing what I did wrong on the shoot. And so then I carry that knowledge with me into the next shoot. And I think that's why, you pay for professionals to do their job because they have the experience and they know what they did wrong so many times that now when they go into the shoot with you personally, you're paying for their experience. You're not just paying for the job. And so I think that's really important. And again, it's a blessing for me to be able to work at Loudermilk Homes full time because I get to have that trial and error and I get to learn every single step of the way.
Well, now that you've talked about the editing and the film and what's coming up, obviously we need to put that film onto some kind of platform for our clients to see it. So obviously social media is the largest platform for us. We obviously put some things on our website, but social media is by far how we're pushing these things out. Since you've taken over our social media and really positioned, a lot of videos onto our programs, our followers have just skyrocketed. And it's just absolutely amazing. And by the way, anybody watching, please join. You will give Alex a lot of credit if you just accept our Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram and all those social channels that we're on. Please follow us.
But yeah, if anyone is watching this and follows all of our accounts, that helps me get my bonus. So please follow.
But we're doing a lot more video, obviously, but what are you doing that's really propelling us forward in our followers?
So I'm very humbled to talk about the social, media manager position as a whole. And again, another blessing that I get to work with Loudermilk Homes is, that's not why I was hired to work here. I was hired to do photo, video, and I was super excited to do that. And I kind of started taking on other responsibilities. And you were like, our social media, it's where it's at. We really want to grow. Like, is that something you can help with? And I was like, those things are directly correlated. I can figure out how to do this. It was so much more than I thought it was going to be when I said yes. But I am so thankful for the experience. And so what it looks like is obviously you need the content. You need your photos, you need your videos, you need hit music, you need to see the trends that are happening. But a lot of the social media management game is understanding what works and what doesn't. And so I love numbers. I come from a background of being really good at math. I love analyzing things, figuring out what's wrong with it, trying to fix it. And that's really what social media is. And so you have all of these platforms to be able to see insights and engagement and reach and, post advertisements of your business. And so it has become a game, basically, for me to go through, look at the last 100 posts we've made and go through and be like, which ones are performing better than others? Now let me click on them and be like, why is this post performing better than this post? And going through the hashtags, looking at what we call SEO content, which is search engine optimization. For those of you that aren't familiar, it's just what words do you use in your post that people are searching in a search bar, like custom homes. Am I putting custom homes in the description of our post? And now is our post popping up when someone types in custom homes on social media? It's stuff like that. It could be small words that you don't even think about. But now you're going through and doing the research, finding out, which words are coming up. You're looking up keywords, honestly, on their own and just being like, what keywords are hot and hip today? Let me add those to my post. And then the fun side of analyzing too is getting to look at our competitors. I'm not going to list them out here, but we follow all of our competitors. We obviously show support to a degree of everyone in the construction industry, but I look at their posts too, right next to ours, and I say, well, why is their stuff performing better than ours? So, sometimes you have to take into account they already have a much larger following, they have a much smaller following, but then, you get to the nitpicky of like, oh, well, we're only like 1,000 followers off of this other builder, and our post is performing way better than theirs. And so I look at their posts too, and I'm like, oh, they don't have any hashtags. They don't have a description. The photos not well edited. And that's not a knock on them, but that's the learning process for me, is being able to see the side by side. And so when you talk about the social media game as a whole, for someone who doesn't understand it and someone who's not in it, it's so much behind the scenes work. There's engagement. I have to go through and respond to a lot of our comments because that helps our algorithm, helps our page get put out there to more people. We run ads which aren't seen as posts. Like if you scroll through our Facebook page or our Instagram page, I'm running like 3 ads right now, but none of those pop up on our page. That's only being shown to people who aren't following us. It's a game, and finding the right balance of not doing too much, but also not doing too little to keep, showcasing growth within the online space.
So there's a lot more to social media than just throwing out a nice picture.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because, it's the middle of March right now. And last week, I think we only had like 1 or 2 posts over the last 2 weeks. And that's a lot lower than what our standard is for posting. And, I decided to put that energy into running a specific type of ad, which, not to get into the details of it, but I'm seeing an increased growth because I took the time to go the ad route and do the research there versus spend the time just posting content. So it does wonders once you understand what's happening behind the scenes and, just the algorithm. And the worst part is, I'm going to be honest and transparent, the worst part is the algorithm is different for every single app. Facebook and Instagram is very similar, thankfully, but you go to Pinterest, you go to Twitter, you go to YouTube, every single thing is different, and you have to find the game for each one.
Yeah. Well, my favorite social media platform is YouTube. I think it's the second largest search optimization engine for people to just search things. I know I use it regularly all the time. So what can people see coming up on YouTube on our channel?
Well, funny enough, we kind of hinted at the start of the episode about like this project I was hired for. And I know it's public. It's not like we're hiding it, but Beyond the Blueprints is something I'm still very excited about. And something that's still very much in the works. Sherwin and I are trying to find time between both of our very busy schedules to be able to put this together. But it's something we're very excited about that's going to kind of showcase the behind the scenes, not just of our company, but the custom home building experience in general, but definitely tailored more to like our 9-step process, which if you guys aren't familiar, Sherwin has created this really awesome and insightful way of how we build homes and how we get the best quality homes out of every single build that we have. So that's something to look forward to. We also have expanded to a lot of our video projects to now showcasing a lot of the homes that we have that, or just lots in general that we have that are upcoming, and kind of giving a preview that's more than just a photo or a drone shot that's like, you are here. Like, no, we're going through, we're getting a drone shot, we're showing what's around it, we're showing the location, we're showing what's so cool about to live in this area. And I'm just I get excited doing these videos because I try not to just put clips that I filmed together with your voice over it. I actually try and go through and like do some special effects, kind of actually show the audience and be very specific, like, this is what you're looking at versus just this is the shot of, and we're trying to talk about it and explain to you what the shot is. I try and give as much information to the audience as possible. So yeah, we got the lot preview videos, beyond the blueprints. We're still working on sticks and bricks, which is really exciting, and just other small pieces of content. We have a lifestyle video coming up, kind of showing off Cashiers, North Carolina, which is close to Highlands, close to Asheville, and just showing off what Cashiers is. And so there's just a lot of fun, small projects, just subscribe, like the channel, and stay up to date because there's a lot of fun, small things.
Well, that's our time. I want to leave you with the last word. Do you have anything else that you'd like to tell the audience?
I would say marketing is a much bigger space than a lot of people realize. And so, like, we talked about photo, video. We didn't even brush the surface of like the AI stuff that I've been diving into with marketing, and how we utilize 3D printing within the office, and like a lot of the things that we have upcoming that we're trying to use 3D printing to help our marketing and propel it. So when you hear the word marketing, it is much more than just social media. If you're looking at getting a company or a person to come help you personally or your company with marketing, it is very important. I think Sherwin can attest to this too, that you find the right person and that they know what they're doing, because there's a lot to it, and you want to make sure that it's someone you can trust and that you're going to be able to work with them more than a short period of time, because it's going to, I think the last thing I'll just say is marketing is a long-term goal. You're not going to see immediate success unless it's photos and videos, obviously. But when it comes to the social media, online, print space, like, it takes time to show results, and it's an investment. And I'm thankful that I get the opportunity to do that here.
Well, that is awesome. I cannot tell you how thankful I am on what you've done for us and how you're getting our great product that we build out to the marketplace in such a creative way. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Sticks and Bricks, all the work that you've been doing. And hopefully everyone will stay tuned and see some more of your great product that you put out.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Sherwin.
All right. See you, Alex.
And that concludes another episode of Sticks and Bricks. I hope you enjoyed our journey into the world of custom luxury home design and construction. Before we say goodbye, let's dive into our Builder Pro Tips segment, where we've broken down today's episode into actual items. Remember, turning knowledge into action is the key to making your dream home a reality.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to our Builder Pro Tips segment. Thank you all for joining. When it comes to marketing and media, it's really an art. And what we found is by hiring in-house, it really transformed a lot of what we produced. I'm not saying you can't do the same thing on your own, but with the size company we are, we really needed that dedicated focus to really take our product and really be able to articulate to the masses what we do and how we do it. And it's been a game changer ever since we've done that. But in order to plan for things, make sure that you really focus on the front end of what you're going to do. Don't just take a bunch of pictures and then wonder what you're going to do. Plan it out. How are you going to take the pictures? How are you going to take the video? What are you planning on doing, and how are you planning on doing it? Storytelling is incredibly important, right? Make sure you tell that story of who you are and what you do. What differentiates you from your competition? Because that's really the difference from a client's perspective of whether they want to go with you or another firm on who it is that you are. Make sure that you capture those photos. I know for builders, it's tough to capture pictures, because you get done with that house and you're wanting to move that client in, and there's still boxes and things of that nature all around. And it's tough to take those pictures. Force yourself to have a demarcation line and get those pictures and that videography in to make sure you have that marketing for the future. become a student for what you're doing, and make sure that you are really focused on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and be willing to try out new products. You leverage AI, leverage 3D printing and new types of social media aspects and things of that nature. Push yourself out of your comfort zone as much as you can. Hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to leave comments if you have any questions. Thanks.
I hope you found these tips valuable. If you have questions or want to share your experiences, please reach out. We're here to support you. Thank you for being part of Sticks and Bricks, and stay tuned for more inspiration. Make sure to subscribe below. Until next time, I'm Sherwin Loudermilk signing off. Thank you for listening.